very welcome back. Now, did you know that 80% of sore throats are caused by viruses and can't be treated with antibiotics? So what kind of things do people self-medicate with? Well, we went out onto the streets to find out.
Hot red lemonade. My mother used to always make it, but it never worked. Tasted nice, but that was all really,
Glycerine, honey and lemon. That would be 2 spoons of glycerine, 2 spoons of honey in previously boiled water, but it would be lukewarm when you're drinking it. It's never worked.
We always thought it did work, the hot red lemonade with the disprin. Heat your hot lemonade inside in a bottle, inside in your saucepan of hot water. That's all we got when we were young, and we thought it worked anyway. We had to pretend it worked anyway because it tasted nice anyway.
I'd heard of people put onion in their sock for the sole of their foot. I've never tried it myself, to be honest. I don't think I ever would, but it just seems a bit odd. But people say it works, so it might be worth a shot.
Hot red lemonade.
Did you never hear of that?
Never heard of that before
But that's
in my
a
life.
thing, and has been for many
and
years.
onion in your sock.
I have heard that. I've done that. Well, I've done it with garlic.
Okay.
It draws out the impurities through your feet.
Okay.
It's almost like based on the kind of points of reflexology in your foot. Anyway, Susan O Dwyer, pharmacist. Orthodox medicine we're speaking about here today, not old wives' tales. You're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
It is actually a massive statistic when you think of 80% that, people go and take antibiotics.
Absolutely,
without knowing. And they're probably
very
not
often you
working.
don't need an antibiotic at all, and actually it's harmful to be taking antibiotics if you don't need them, because that's how bugs develop resistance, and we're left with then infections that can't be treated with antibiotics. So particularly with sore throats, almost 80%, even more, maybe 90% even, sometimes could be caused by viral infection. Don't need an antibiotic, they won't work on the viral sore throats. So what you want to do is just let it run its course, treat the symptoms, and that's...
It is amazing when you think of antibiotics, because it was the go-to thing for everything, no matter what it was.
Yeah. Well, they were an amazing new drug, I suppose, to treat, but used well and used in the right way, they really do benefit people. But actually, if you've got a virus, an antibiotic is going to do absolutely nothing, and all you're doing is exposing bugs in the environment to that particular antibiotic.
What is the normal time for a virus, like a throat virus, to run its
So
course?
usually about 3 to 7 days. So I would say after about 7 days, it should have cleared. In your use, if you have that particular infection, it should have cleared up after that time. Yeah.
This is amazing. I didn't realise that this was even in existence, but it's fairly new. This is a kit to determine if your sore throat is viral or bacterial.
Yeah, so this is a new kind of test. It's what they call rapid diagnostic tests. So you can use them. If somebody comes in, we can do the test for them, depending on whether they fit the criteria for actually getting tested. So what would happen is somebody would come, have a consultation with the pharmacist. We ask you 4 questions. And basically, if you've a fever, don't have a cough, if you've got your glands are swollen, so we can check that and check your lymph nodes, and also see if you've any kind of pus on the back of your throat. And if you have 3 or 4 of those symptoms, it's likely that you might have a bacterial infection. So then you can go on and get this rapid test.
Show us how it's done, because this is done now in store in Boots pharmacies. This is not to be done at home yourself at the patient. So you take the swab.
Yeah, so basically, even before you take the swab, so you get your 2 little reagents and you mix them together, so it's 3 drops. Then this swab is what's going to go to the back of the throat, so it's just a little swab, the back of the throat. Then that's going to go in there, it's going to react with the liquid. After a minute, you're going to take that out, you're going to put in one of these little tests, and then 5 minutes later, you're going to see, is that positive for what we call strep A bacteria? So it's a particular type of bacteria, but it's the only bacteria causing a sore throat where antibiotics actually might be warranted.
So what does this cost?
So the consultation itself is $7.50. So you can go in and you can have a chat with, I suppose, your pharmacy team. You might not necessarily need the test, so therefore you might not even need to pay the $7.50.
So it's $7.50 as opposed to going to the doctor to find out.
Yeah, because you don't need to go to the doctor if you have a viral infection. You don't need antibiotics, so therefore you're saving yourself, I suppose, the trip and unnecessary medication, and you're also, I suppose, saving that slot for somebody that might need it. With the doctor.
It's almost, I suppose, when you think to check whether you have a urinary tract infection. It's the same type of thing, the same kind of dipper kind of test. Okay, I see, which you would do at a doctor,
and
of
they're
course.
coming up with more and more of these technologies all the time, so I think the more of them that are there, the better, because then you know that's the infection, that responds to that antibiotic, and that's how you treat it.
Susan, loads of stuff out there, of course, so it can be attacked in many different ways.
If it is viral.
If it is viral.
Okay,
So what have we got here?
So these then, you see, if it is viral, what you want to do is just treat the symptoms. So you want to keep yourself well, keep yourself hydrated, but you might want some pain relief. So you might want maybe a lozenge. So there's various different lozenges. This one here, for example, has an anaesthetic in it, and it's quite a long-acting one. Similar to, for example, the Tyrozettes, they'd have an anaesthetic as well, but also an antiseptic. So probably another ingredient.
So an anaesthetic will kind of numb the area.
That numbs the pain.
And then the antiseptic will treat it.
Exactly. So if you have a slight infection, maybe in the mouth, the throat, then that can be quite useful. And then you've got things like anti-inflammatories. So the Strepsils intensive, for example, have an anti-inflammatory. So if your sore throat and the pain associated with that throat is caused by inflammation, that'll treat that.
These are all lozenges now, I should say.
So
aren't
these
they?
are all lozenges. And again, that's just another variation on the lozenge.
You're supposed to take your time with them, though, aren't you? Because I just keep biting into them.
No, you're
You're
supposed to do
supposed to
that.
suck them and let it dissolve in your mouth. You want it in contact with the back of the throat, because I do exactly what you do, chew them.
Rita
They're
had one
gone, waste of time.
Rita had one in her mouth for a day and a half. I'm convinced. I swear to God, for so long, I put it
I'll
into my
speak
mouth.
for you, Rita, because I'm here.
And I put it into my
did
mouth,
not.
okay? And then all of a sudden, I'm doing very well now. Then 30 seconds in, I start biting
so
it. And it's no
dramatic.
good then, though, is it?
And then you're wondering why it doesn't work. There's
Yes,
no
that's
point.
okay.
Yeah, no.
Now these are good as well because they say this stuff. I particularly think this one is good because it's got you can kind of spray
Again,
it
it's an
into the back of your
anti-inflammatory type, but what's useful with this is you've actually got a nozzle that gets right back to where you want to use it.
Yeah.
So it's a real local action. Whereas sometimes with the lozenge, it's a little bit harder to get that local action. So they're very good.
This is effective as well, but it's not pleasant to use in just my own personal view. But it is very effective. This one.
You're going to feel it at the back of your throat. You're going to feel some of these working as well. So that's again an anti-inflammatory. The Septibine is the same idea, but it also has an antiseptic. So again, it's a bit like the Tyrosets, but in a lozenge form.
So what about people who are at home watching this and they, at the moment, they're feeling something coming on and they just want to nip it in the bud? What should they use? Any of these?
If they have symptoms, so if they've got pain, you can use any of these. So again, the choice here is, it depends on whether you have underlying conditions, whether you're on other medication, because the likes of the anti-inflammatories aren't suitable for everybody if you've got asthma, things like that. Then I suppose if you have a fever, you might want something that'll bring down a fever, so maybe a paracetamol or a Nurofen, and maybe just pain relief. So again, I suppose it's what suits you. What's handy for you to take around? What do you like the taste of? Are you diabetic? Do you have to stay away from sugar? All that kind of stuff.
Everyone's talking about, everyone has something at the moment, there's something in the air.
Yeah, well, it's the
between kids
cold
and
coming
adults
in and all that.
Yeah.
I just think it's great. So that test, as we talked about there, to determine whether or not you have a viral or a bacterial infection, you can get that at Boots for €7 odd, isn't it? So
That's great. Susan,
a
thank you
million,
very
Susan.
much,
Thank you very much.
for
That's
all
great.
of that, yes. And in a fortnight's time, we'll have Paula, and she'll be back, and she's going to be chatting about winter health and those common colds. And if you missed any of this, you can go on to boots.ie.